What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Man Cave Podcast that is brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Brandon Berg is going to be joining me here for a top 5 plus our top 5 favorite things about March Madness. Before Brandon's here, just a quick reminder to follow and subscribe to the Man Cave Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, like Apple and Spotify, or on YouTube. And if you are on Apple or Spotify, if you could give us a 5-star rating and a positive review so others can find the podcast. It's time for another top 5 plus with Brandon, and since it is March Madness, we had to do this was Brandon's idea, a top 5 plus March Madness theme, and so we decided, Brandon, to go a little bit with top 5 favorite things about March Madness for basketball. Now, that could be, it's pretty open-ended. It could be a bunch of different things, whether it's a food-related thing, maybe it's like an annual tradition that you have with friends or something like that. So, top 5 favorite things when it comes to March Madness. Did you have any honorable mentions?
I have 2.
Okay, well, I'll let you go first because I don't have any. Okay. So you go with your honorable mentions, then I'll start it off with 5 if that makes sense.
Yep. My number 1 for me, I just put the quad box. Like I have YouTube TV, so you're able to obviously have multiple games going at once.
Yep.
But when you have like when there's 4 games going at the same time, when you have the quad box on, that's just it is what it sounds like. You got 4 games going on at the same time. What's not to like about that?
Yeah. Yep. That's a good one. Quad box. All right.
The quad box. Yes. And my other one, and actually I added it. This is the last one I added. I'm just going in general. I said one shining moment.
Oh yeah, I thought about that
one. At the end of the tournament, after the title game is done, they always have the music video with one shining moment.
Yep.
It's always fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely. All right, I'll start off with my 5 then. So my 5 kind of relates to yours with the quad box, but I just kind of generally said there's always a game on. I mean, starting at like 11:15 or whatever through the night, there's always going to be a game on at some point. So even if you just have a one tube, if you're one tubing it, watch it, then you go to the next. I mean, it's just constant action. So the fact that you can just like literally sit there and just watch basketball all the time, that for like 4 days in a row, essentially. Yeah, I'm going games on all the time.
That's a good one.
Your number 5.
My number 5 is the college basketball and CBS theme.
Oh, why didn't I put that? I was just humming it too the other day.
Like it just hits different in March.
That's a good one.
Like that, you get the visual of like there's a team's on like a 7-0 run going into break. You have like the slow motion replay of like the last thing that happened. Like it's just, and you have that, that's just it's one of the best. And this time of year it hits especially hard. That
is a really good one. I wish I had that one on mine. So number 4, I'm going with Cinderella's. Just with I mean, usually every year there's at least one, whether it's a 15 seed advancing to the Final Four or this team that nobody knows about. I mean, then we know about this player, and this is, pun intended, their one shining moment, their 15 minutes of fame essentially. But usually we've got a Cinderella, maybe going to the Sweet 16 or something. I mean, we can probably list some off: George Mason, VCU, all those teams. So Cinderella's number 4.
Good one. My number 4 is very specific, but I feel like it's something people might be able to feel. And mine is, and when you're watching the games, you know how at the top of the screen they'll always have the little boxes with like the other scores?
Yep.
For me, it is a very specific one. Is the feeling when all of those scores at the top are the games that you've picked correctly.
That's a good one,
when you see like, oh, this team is up on this team, because if you're only watching the one game at one time, like you can keep track of the other ones, but it's like, oh, hey, I picked that 10 seed that's beating this, just that feeling when you look up there and it's just across the board, like, yep, I picked all those right as the game's going on.
Yep. Number 3 for me are buzzer beaters, and it's buzzer beaters, but with a kind of a slash with it. Onions with Bill Raftery.
That is a bit of a bummer that we don't have Gus Johnson or Bill on the calls for these. Like just in general, I was like Vern Lundquist too, but he was always fun this time of year.
Yep. But I mean, I love Bill Raftery doing college basketball games and that. So I mean, onions. This was a while ago. Homage, that T-shirt place.
Yeah.
Had Bill Raftery T-shirts made, and it had onions on there, and I missed out on getting one.
Oh, that would have been a good one.
Because it was literally onions going into a basketball hoop.
Nice.
and I didn't pull the trigger in getting it, and now they don't make them anymore.
Right.
So, but
yeah, that's a good one.
So I kind of combine it because he does it with like big shots, buzzer beaters,
yes, but
that
this
sort of stuff.
like,
so, Bill, got to put Bill on
because
there.
he was on the call. Like the thing I think of automatically was he was on the call for was it Villanova, North Carolina?
Yeah. Yep. Double onions.
Yeah. Yes. yes.
Yeah. So the buzzer beater / with Bill on there's my number 3. So
my number 3, bracket pools. The fact that like for March Madness, like everyone can find a way to kind of have some skin in the game.
Yep.
And the thing too that's always fun about bracket pools is you don't have to be a college basketball pro to do it.
No.
Like heck, in some years to help. Like that's kind of part of the reason this year I've tried to like streamline my thought process on this more, not think about it and analyze it so much. Is because like it's not always the people that put in the most time and have the most knowledge that win them,
right.
that do well in them.
Right.
But it's always one of those things about March Madness is like everyone you can be watching a game that two teams you don't know, but you're going to care because chances are you picked one of them and it's just it helps you have skin in the game.
Yep. That's a good one. So we are up to number 2, right? This is a kind of a very specific one. It's more of a memory one. And I'll be honest, I don't even know if they do this anymore. And I don't know if they did it when you were younger. You're in school, and you go to that one class, and the teacher happens to have the game on the TV, and you get to watch just maybe a little bit of it, or it's towards the end of the class, and they turn it on. And back in our day, it was the tube TVs. It was
probably maybe on the cart.
Yeah.
Maybe on the cart with a little strap across the top so it stayed in place.
Yep. So it's those moments when you knew, like, oh, that one teacher's going to have it on, because I remember, I think I was in 6th grade. Yeah, it would have been 6th grade, I think. Mrs. Pyzik turned it on right towards the end of the day, and it was right before Bryce Drew hit that game-winning shot for Valpo.
Wow.
Yeah, so I still remember that in Mrs. Pyzik's 6th grade class, watching it, but I could think of still my teachers, the certain ones that I won't say names, besides Miss Pyzik right there, but I won't say the other ones, like they would just have it on, or they would mute it, or they were watching on their computers, and then we'd huddle around and watch a little bit, so those are good memories too.
That's a good one.
Yep,
that's
my
good
number
one.
2.
My number 2 is a very specific one to me, and I think you know what this is going to be. Now, my number 2 is I have a tradition.
Yep.
Every year for the NCAA tournament, the first day I'm able to watch, sit down and watch, because some years I'm down in Madison covering state boys basketball. I have a special thing I make every year: buffalo chicken sandwiches, which is a tradition that started when I was in college at Oshkosh. There's a little restaurant on campus that made them, and we just stumbled upon it right at March Madness, and they were really, really good. So I've spent the last nearly 20 years trying to perfect the recipe. I do actually feel like I might have. Like this year was the best one I've had.
Nice.
So like, it's just a tradition that I just because that's what I did a lot of on Thursday was I was working and stuff from home doing stuff, but a couple times like once in the afternoon I think during the first half of the Badger game, and then I think it was about 7 or 8 o'clock at night I made the other part of it, and I'm not eating it all weekend because I don't need 4 days of buffalo chicken sandwiches, but for that one day,
Attaboy.
Business was good.
Attaboy. So now we are to number 1. And I didn't know of a way or a certain phrase or certain way to say it, so I'm keeping it general, but allow me to explain it. So I just have it listed brackets. And brackets for this reason, because it's a couple different things. So when I really started getting into it, I can't remember, like it was middle school or something. But before we printed it off, I remember one time I had to like draw out the bracket in my notebook. And then, like, I would take everybody's picks that way. And then it evolved into printing off brackets and then having all my friends. And, like, I was already running a pool in high school and at work. And it was all paper ones. So, like, collecting everybody's. But, so it's paper brackets. But then it's putting them all in a manila folder. And it's all having a Sharpie and a highlighter. Crossing out, highlighting. And when it evolved to even in college, we still did paper brackets. My buddies, if they were at a different college, would mail them to me. And then I remember one year in college, we had a big bracket up on the wall in the living room with multiple TVs. I think it was actually my last year in college. And just because it would always kind of coincide around spring break sort of thing.
Some years it would hit it.
Yeah. So I just call it brackets because it was the paper brackets, it was highlighters, and people bugging the crap out of me. Hey, who's leading in standings? Because you'd have to update it and all that. So I'm glad I don't do those anymore because it's a pain, but good times though too.
So now I'm going to ask you a question. In 2025, did you print out a paper copy of your bracket?
Not 2025.
Ooh, I did.
This is the first year I didn't
But
do
yes,
it. Usually I do.
Even though obviously with everything is through your phone, you can keep up to the second. Like I still have to have it.
Yep.
I still have to look at it. I still have to keep track of it that way too.
I thought about it this year, and even like last year I still did it, but you have to do it in pen. It bugs me you can't do it in pencil.
No.
And I only do a bracket of integrity. I only do one.
And that was another thing I was going to ask too. Are you a big believer in the sheet of integrity?
Sheet of integrity.
I am too.
Yep.
Like look, if you do 10 brackets and one of them is really good, I don't consider that to be too much of an achievement.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
I only did one
bracket. Make your decision. Stick with it.
Yep. So it's just kind of that old school brackets, if you will, is my number one.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I could still picture me having the manila folder with everybody's bracket and a highlighter and a Sharpie. And one sheet with standings that I'd have to add up after every round. So
I'll do my number one first, but then there was something I was a little surprised wasn't on there, even though it's very niche.
For me?
For you.
Okay.
Yes. My number one, and you alluded to it earlier, I love the fact that from Thursday until Sunday, there's just a game on at all times. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll have more of them. You can get the quad box if you want, but otherwise, until Sunday evening, there's just going to be a game on at some point.
Yep.
From 11 o'clock throughout the day. And I just love that. Yesterday I'm working from home. I'm at my desk. I'm writing stuff. I'm looking over, and there's these games on. There's always something going on, and I love that. That's those first 4 days they're special. You get to the Sweet 16, it's a little. obviously they're a little bit more important because you're further into the tournament, but
right.
Those first 4 days of just constant updating and looking and seeing, it's just there's nothing like it.
Mm-hmm. So what was the one that? Because you didn't have it on yours either.
I didn't either,
okay.
But this is something I've heard, and it's something you've talked about before, and
okay.
I agree, but I would associate it more with you. For even an honorable mention for you, I thought you were going to mention the Mountain Dew bottle tops.
Oh my God! You're right.
The Mountain Dew bottle tops, you would have the school in there, and if that school won, you would get a.
Oh, that's top 5 for me.
Okay.
I will. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Thank you for saying that. I'll take out one of these and put that on. I'll take out the Cinderellas and put the Mountain Dew bottle caps. You're exactly right. How did I forget that?
I was a little surprised too.
You're right. I wish they still did that. I don't drink soda anymore, but I might just to do the bottle caps.
You would just buy a bunch of Mountain Dew bottles and just.
Yep. Oh my! For crying out loud, I remember. So high school, I worked at a full service gas station. We would grab those and try to look underneath.
Oh, and see
who it is. Try to put up to the light and see if it was just a little bit, not quite filled all the way it's supposed to. Could you angle it to see who was under there? And
you're trying to hustle the game?
Yes, I was, because I always got Pepperdine. I feel like I always got Pepperdine.
I feel like this is an offshoot of if you played the McDonald's
Monopoly.
Yeah. And you always got Baltic Avenue.
They need to bring that one back, too.
And every once in a while you would get Park Place, but you knew there was 2 boardwalks in the world, and one probably got thrown away.
Mm-hmm. Yep. God, those were good days.
That was a big deal.
God.
You had to get the supersized fries or the Big Mac or the supersized drink so you could get the pull-offs.
Yep. I remember, this is a funny story. So 6th grade again. One of my buddies, John, and actually was a college roommate for a couple of years of mine too. But in college, I'll paint the picture. If anybody listening to this probably knows who John is. Just very health freak in college. Ate healthy, exercise, all that. However, in 6th grade, we had this thing if you hit a reading goal, our teacher would take us to McDonald's. And John, his meal at McDonald's, this was his thing. 2 supersized fries, and he'd dump them on a tray, and that's all he would eat.
Yeah.
That's all. And now I just randomly think about that once in a while. That's what he was like. And John, this is funny too. The other thing I remember about John, Craig Newsom jersey. He was a big Craig Newsom fan.
Nice.
But the health nut freak that he was in college, And I just remember in 6th grade sitting across from him in one of those old school awesome McDonald's booths. And all he would order is 2 supersized fries and just dump them out on a tray. So what did we do? We dumped our fries on the tray too, and everybody was
You guys
just
are
like,
just grazing?
yeah.
Cattle style?
And I was just thinking about this the other day because I saw a coffee filter that looked like it. The old ketchup little cups.
Yeah.
That and we'd have like 10 of those sitting around. So
Congratulations to several of our corporate overlords because you have put memories so ingrained into our name that we unprompted brought them up right now.
Yeah.
And they are good memories for us.
Yep.
Good for you. You were doing it right then.
Mm-hmm. And we're chomping at the bit and wanting to experience that again. So I am. I'll do it. It might hurt me. That might not feel great, but
when I was in high school, you mentioned McDonald's, I would, I play basketball, so but there was times when I would go, if I had basketball practice after school and then I worked after that, I would have 45 minutes. I'm like, oh, I got to eat something. I always go to McDonald's, and I always get the same thing, and there is no dang way I could get it now because my metabolism is shot to heck.
Yep.
I would get 2 McDoubles and 2 large fries.
Yeah.
And I would never gain any dang weight.
Speaking of which, just really quick, this was actually in college. I've told this story a few times. So I was a kins major. You'd think healthy. No. No. But I remember one time it was, I think it was biomechanics or exercise physiology, one of those classes. And I called it the Rocky test. It was this thing that we had to hook up an oxygen thing, but then weights on a treadmill or a bike, and they would incline it and get it up higher so it was steeper, like Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. So I'm like, oh, I'll just do it. I volunteered to do it. So I did it. It wasn't that bad. But what did I do afterwards, Brandon? What did I do afterwards? I went to Burger King, got a triple Whopper and a large Coke because I couldn't gain weight. I could get away with it because I was doing stuff like that. I was playing intramurals almost every night. And as soon as you're done with college, can't do that anymore.
No. I'm just visualizing you on that bike and then eating that triple Whopper while Hearts on Fire is playing.
But it was because nobody did. I'm like, I'll do it, and I just called it the Rocky test because that's all I could think about was Ivan Drago, and then triple Whopper after that.
I feel like one of our top 5s could be top 5 things we used to be able to do, but now we can't because we're old.
I would almost go through a 12-pack of Mountain Dew a day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
I believe you.
When I first started here, which was 13 years ago, I would bring 3 Mountain Dew cans with me, and that's breakfast. That's breakfast. Yeah. And then lunch, I'd have to go get a bottle.
Liquid lunch in a different way.
I would not drink water at home. It's soda. It was bad. And now it's pretty much black coffee, water, and unsweetened iced tea for me now. So, you don't see the effects until you get older, and then it's like,
yes.
Oh, crap.
Right. When I just look at a Big Mac and my ass grows.
I'm going to write that down, though. Top 5
You're going to write down what I just said.
Top 5 habits.
Things.
Bad habits?
Well, I was just saying top 5 things you used to be able to do, but now you really can't.
Let me write that down in my notebook that you made fun of me for last time. That I got so many different.
Your Jeff Jack's notebook?
Does he do that?
He and his was a smaller one, but he could keep it in his pocket.
Oh, one of those
he would if he would write down if he just needed to remember. Basically, it was his notes app before notes app on a phone.
Yeah. You know what? I email myself a lot though too. I don't know if anybody I email.
That's just my notes app. I have I have a couple of them and they'll just have random things, just things I know I need to remember.
See, as I'm trying to flip through and find it, I was just gonna say I can't do a notes app on my phone because there's so much and then I lose track of it.
And it's funny you bring this up. I have a notebook that I've had for almost a year and it's still empty.
Yeah.
I have a WIA little. It's like that, but it's just the WIA one that I got from the WIA, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'll use it for something. It's just sitting on my desk at my place because I haven't used it for anything yet. And I'm always like, I need to use that for something, but I just don't know what.
Yep. I don't know. I'm still old school. I like to write stuff. So it is what it is.
You would think I would too, right?
You'd think. All right, that is going to do it for us on this episode of Top 5 Plus. Until next time, we'll talk to you on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.